Good morning, everybody. It is your next installment of Chiro Stories. I believe this is volume 7, and we're going to call this Colic. So several years ago, I had a mother bring a little baby girl in, and she was not happy is probably a very huge understatement. Her little tummy was swollen. It felt like a bowling ball. She had not slept more than just a couple minutes for the past 3-4 days. And before that, it was 10-15 minutes. Mom said that this has been going on for a couple weeks now. She won't sleep. When she cries and she screams and she cries, and then she passes out for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then she wakes right back up crying. And she said this is going on 24/7. The pediatricians don't have a clue. We took her to a gastro specialist, and they said that what we need, she's got we think she has a twisted intestine, and we need to get in there, and we're going to pull all of her intestines out and straighten and put them back. And she said that scared us to death. And she said, a friend of mine told us about you, so can you help my baby? So the Colic technique that many of you have seen me do, on video, I immediately started to work on the baby. Well, what I do is I go in and I find the ileocecal valve, and I release it, and it allows the food to pass through. Really, very simple explanation, but that's not the reason for this story. And when I started working on her, I call her a rigid baby. Not only was her stomach hard as a rock and swollen, she was screaming so hard when they brought her to me. When they handed her to me, she was screaming, and her little body was just in spasm and rigid. I had never seen a baby to this point in that much pain. And it took me forever to get into the stomach and find that valve. It was a battle. And I finally found it, and when I did, it released, and it felt like a tiny little, explosion under my fingers. The best way I can describe it. This was several years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And this screaming, rigid baby just completely collapsed in my arms, went limp and passed out. Mom was sitting right in front of me, and she immediately started crying. It was like a cry that was unusual. It was a cry of relief, of thank God. There were so many different emotions that you saw in this, and I really didn't understand the enormity of what was going on at the moment. And I had the baby back, and I said, I want to see her tomorrow, and we'll see how she did, overnight. And so Mom left. She came back, and she said she's so much better. She slept for like 3 hours. She said, you don't even understand. And again, in the middle of these things, you're busy and you're seeing lots of people, and you don't really get it. So on the third visit, she came back, and her husband came with her. And he was very quiet. He sat in a chair and watched what I did. And her tummy was just soft, and she didn't cry. She was just a normal baby. And Mom said, we can't believe it. Said diapers are full. She's sleeping all night. It's amazing. Thank you. You're welcome. And so they got up and they went to leave, and I shook Dad's hand, and he, again, not a word through this whole thing. As they started to walk out the door, he said, go ahead and go up and pay. And she looked at him and went on, and he stepped back in my office, shut the door, and he reached up and he grabbed me and he hugged me. So those of you know me, I am the huggingest, lovingest, most affectionate person on the planet, but I don't know this guy, and he's grabbing me. It's a little awkward at this moment, right? And he pushed me back, and he said, I'm sorry, but you don't understand. He said, what you don't know is we were filing for divorce. I said, that baby has not slept in weeks. We have not slept in weeks. We were screaming at each other. We were at each other's throat. We had enough. We were done. We were making preparations to separate. I was moving out. We couldn't take it anymore. We slept the last 3 nights all night long, and we woke up yesterday and we looked at each other and said, what are we doing? You don't understand that you saved our marriage. We would have been divorced. There's no telling what we went through. And because this child is sleeping, because you gave this baby's life back, you gave our life back, and you'll never know ever what that means to us. And he had tears in his eyes. And as I'm telling the story, I'm seeing his face of, man, it was an expression of gratitude. There were so many things, right? And you're welcome. Again, I've got lots of people in this moment, but as I reflect back on that, we say these stories all the time, and we talk about what it means to be a chiropractor and the lives we change and the lives we save. And there are so many things that we don't know. If that man had not come in, I would have had no idea about that. She didn't share that with me. She didn't want me to know that. That was embarrassing to her. He wanted to thank me as a man to man. He wanted to thank me for saving his marriage and taking care of his baby, which I'll never, ever take for granted. I'll always remember it. But my message to all of you that are watching this, do not take for granted the power of what we do. Do not take for granted for a minute that person that comes in, that you give that adjustment to, and you may not see any immediate results. You may not know what went on after they left, but it's huge. It could change everything for someone. So be very focused, be very specific, and pay attention to what you're doing today, because the things we think, say, and do today absolutely affect the lives of millions tomorrow. All right? I love you all. If there's anything I can ever do for you, please let me know. Have a great day. Bye.